discussion on this platform, and I'm really looking forward to this very exciting discussion of this.
Can you hear me?
दो दिन ऑपरेशन और प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं अंदर मुझे जब मैं मिलूँ
Pathways for Pakistan. This series brings together academia, industry, policies, and athletes to collectively imagine the structures and pathways that Pakistan needs in order to produce world-class sporting talent. This series and proceeding shall officially begin, and to do so, I would like to welcome on stage our very own Dr. Nida Aslam Khan to deliver the opening address.
Thank you very much, and I'm very proud to talk with you. Feeling extremely humbled. The journey started in August 2024. It is not just my initiative. I'm extremely indebted to Dr. Umar, who has joined online. He's an assistant professor at Missouri State University. Salman Sarwar Barsa, he's former director of PSL, and Kiran Kohati, she's also IBA alum like myself, and one of the pioneers in the HBF KSL. It is never a one-person initiative, it's an entire team effort. The agenda of the program, as you're aware, we have Dr. Christos here, who is the keynote speaker, who will be joining from Qatar University, Qatar Hamad bin Khalifa University. He's also the UNESCO Chairholder in Governance and Social Responsibility. Extremely grateful to our sponsors, Pogole, followed by National Foods. National Foods has been very cooperative. EBM and initial support which has been throughout last 18 months in Nizamuddin Farid. It has been a very challenging journey. Organizing these seminars is not easy, but the most difficult part was we have launched a course at IBA in the area of sports, that is fundamental of sports marketing, and we plan to have a series of electives, hopefully soon. For that, we need to build a skill set and a knowledge set around it. So thank you so much. Thank you students who have joined in today. Thank you panelists. We have Kartana Nabi over here. She is Director of Special Olympics. Dr. Tariq is here from NAD University. Kashmara just flew in the morning from Islamabad. Thank you Arif Said Sahab again. Azam Ali Sahab is also here. Jazakallah, and of course Aziz is there right in front. So wishing you all the best. I hope we have a fruitful discussion, and I look forward to having a Q&A session with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nida, for all those words. So now, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the actual event, I would like to acknowledge and thank Bogolib, our main sponsor for today's seminar, for their incredibly generous support and for their continued commitment to the Pakistan Sports Knowledge Cluster. It is my pleasure to invite Mr. Aziz Kastamali from Bogolib to share his message with us. Mr. Aziz, please take the stage.
Thank you. Thank you for the podium. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, IBA. Thank you, Pakistan Sports Cluster Knowledge. Thank you, the President of Pakistan Olympic Association, as Farah said. And I'm grateful to all the students who are here. I was just told by one of my colleagues that I only have 10 minutes to speak, so I need to stay between the time frame. मैं बड़ी सादी स्टोरी से शुरू करूँगा. So you know what we can do, what we have done for sports, and how we can make sports work together. And why do we need institutions like IBA to work with Pakistan Olympic Association and partners like us to make things happen? So I basically founded two platforms. One is GoGo and one is now Bogo. And under Bogo, we created Pakistan's first sports loyalty platform, and we called it Junoon Pakistan. Junoon Pakistan karta kya hai? I will explain that in a while. But I would like to tell you what we have done for this country in sports without being in limelight. But it's time we start thinking with all the youth that is present in this auditorium. 2019 का Cricket World Cup था, and GoGo became the first Pakistani company to sponsor a Cricket World Cup. The trophy had never come to Pakistan through a private company. We brought the trophy in. We created a new image. Obviously, ICC supported us. The government of Pakistan could not come in front, but they supported us. And we made it work. The trophy came, we changed the mindset, cricket came back to Pakistan, and that's all the whole objective. As a private sector institution, this is what we achieved. अब हमारा as such private sector का बड़ा limited role होता है sports, and the only one word that we can provide in this entire impactful society is money. अब मैं आपको पाकिस्तान का mindset बताऊंगा and how the global mindset works on sports will speak about that. हम जब गोल्ड जीतते हैं तो हम चार चीजों की बात करते हैं कि हमारे पास टैलेंट था इसलिए हम गोल्ड जीत गए, अल्लाह का करम है इसलिए हम गोल्ड जीत गए, माँ की दुआ है इसलिए हम गोल्ड जीत गए और कौम की दुआ है. ठीक है, this is our mindset on achieving what we want to achieve. But if you talk about globally, आप UK की बात करें, पूरी sports industry is funded through lottery. The British lottery funds the entire sports and Olympics of the UK. अब छोटी सी मिसाल दे रहा हूँ. I'm not going to speak about numbers. Arif Saab is here, and I have great respect for his father, who I knew 20 years ago as the chairman of IBA. But let me just tell you that 2021 के Tokyo Olympics, UK invested 345 billion pounds to win 100 Olympics. That is the sheer size of investment that's required. Now that money is focused on four main elements. So money brings in structure, money brings in coaches, and money brings in athletes. अब structure तो चल में रहते हुए हम सड़क नहीं बना सकते, हमें structure की तो बात करना नहीं, so I leave it to Pastor Olympic Association to help us achieve that. But we can definitely know that money can get us structure, coaches, and then athletes. So if we have that in place, everything works around. So to cover that, we built Junoon Pakistan. Now, Junoon Pakistan, and where I was speaking to IBA almost speaking for the last 5 months, is that Junoon Pakistan is a self-funded sponsor and would like to sponsor the Pakistan Olympic Association. We bring it, it's self-funded, we don't go to the people, we don't beg, borrow money, we don't take donations to build something that has commercial value. The sport has a commercial value. Sports create that mindset, and sports brings in the growth the society needs to evolve. Unfortunately, हमारे पास cricket के अलावा कोई sports नहीं. Again, we don't have that mindset to win in cricket, so every other sport suffers as well. अगर हम अपने neighboring country की बात करें, नाम ले सकता हूँ? इंडिया की बात करें तो it's a very simple logic. Out of building that cricket infrastructure, they build that complete sporting network. Kabaddi bhi chal padi, hockey bhi chal pada. Every sport started making a difference. Now, if you look at a shirt or a T-shirt of an Indian Olympian, it says JSW on it. That is Jindal Steelworks. And Jindal Steelworks runs and is dedicated to Olympic funding of it. Through IBA, through Pakistan Olympic Association, we have created that policy. We have created that mindset now, and we would like to partner at our end with Pakistan Olympic Association and IBA. And I would like to tell you where IBA is the most will be an impactful partner of this to help change the mindset. हमारे weak mindset है जिसकी वजह से हम perform नहीं कर सकते, despite having all the skills in that. So what we do is we change that mindset. And to make Junoon Pakistan work, we are bringing all the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas of Pakistan together on the same platform to create a self-funded model for Pakistan Olympics and non-critical sports. So that's something that I wanted to briefly discuss. I know the panelists will speak in detail about the growth and what needs to happen. But the money matters, sir. We would be delighted to partner with both IBA and Pakistan Olympic Association and take this forward. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dean, for all the insights. Now we are going to move over to thanking our sponsor, National Foods Limited. We have a message from them. National Foods' new campaign, Ketchup Champs, is designed to tackle a very important challenge, the decline of physical activity and movement engagement among young school-aged children. So, based on quantitative research that was conducted with young mothers, the campaign recognizes that children today have fewer opportunities for both active and interactive play. To address this, Ketchup Jams introduces Pakistan's first large-scale, on-ground physical play initiative across multiple cities and school levels. These activities, rooted in sports-inspired tasks like agility, coordination, teamwork, problem-solving, as well as just confidence building, are all needed for a blend of physical movement with cognitive development. The core belief behind the campaign is very simple. When kids move, they learn better. For National Foods, the campaign goes beyond product messaging. It strengthens the brand's presence in real family and school moments, shifting the saying National Ketchup Zaruri to demonstrating it through genuine values within children's daily lives and experiences. This approach deepens brand love, trust, and long-term loyalty by supporting children's physical, social, cognitive growth.
The campaign also brings meaningful insights and benefits to children as well as their families. Professional athletes will serve as role models over here, visiting schools, leading training clinics, creating inspiring digital content, and also showing kids that they can play to achieve real achievements. In addition, Ketchup Champs will also be sponsoring promising athletes, helping them with training, with gear, with travel, and with building long-term associations and ambassadors. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going to move forward to our keynote address by Dr. Christos. A little bit of a brief introduction. Dr. Christos is the founder and director of the UNESCO Chair on Governance and Social Responsibility of Sport, and is also a key member of UNESCO's Fit for Life Knowledge and Innovation Network. He's a faculty member at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar, while also serving as a visiting faculty professor at Molde University in Norway, and as a professor at the University of New Brunswick, Canada. He consults with organizations including Generation Amazing Foundation, GA, Cyprus Sport Organization, Sport Integrity Global Alliance, and Qatar Olympic Committee. He's an elected executive board member of the World Association and Sport Management. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, is there any way can I share, Dr. Umer, do I have the right to share my screen? No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, sir. Okay, I told the IT team to do that.
I just sent a request. All right, so.
Yeah. Can the people in the IT team make Dr. Christoph the host so he can share his slides?
I believe I can do that now.
Okay.
Can you all see my very first slide?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let me start by thanking you all for being present, and in particular thanking the organizers for behind this cluster for putting this very important event together. It's a great honor for me to be with you even this way online. But as I said, it is a great honor, and thank you for the kind invitation. Now, I understand that we only have about 20 minutes, so we have some time to discuss what I'm about to share with you, which is entitled, as you see here in the first slide, Scoring Equity, Multi-Criteria Strategies to Power Pakistan's Olympic Talent Pipeline. Now, okay, what is the aspiration, I guess, for everybody in this room and outside that room, across the country, is, I guess, is to move from today, right, within the sport ecosystem, to a stage where, let's broadly define success in the wider sport ecosystem is the case. So I suspect that you share that this is pretty much the aspiration, at least for the cluster itself, right? So to put together whatever resources and sources that exist in order to get to a better stage when it comes to sporting success. Now, what is the context? Well, there is a political, obviously, entity that oversees sport in the country, and that has assigned the responsibility to PSB to govern the sport ecosystem, and then there are about 34. Thanks, Dr. Umer, for sharing all this information. About 34 national sport federations. You know, these entities, these bodies, who are the governing bodies, who are each, in its own right, is responsible for steering the sport, for delivering the sport that they serve. Right, so that will be the focus of my talk today. The national sport federations in your country, in Pakistan. Right now, over the last 5 years, this is the amount that these political entities have assigned to, the broader sport ecosystem in the country. For some countries might be little, for some other countries might be quite a lot. Doesn't matter, but this is the figure. And when it comes to the national sport federations, this is the figure, right? About 100, more than 100 million local currency for 23 federations. I don't know why the other 11 were left out. Last year, but this is indicative, but the numbers doesn't really matter at the moment, right? I'm giving you these numbers just for the context. Now, so the key question is this one, and the challenge, what is the challenge? How do you distribute this amount, let's say 100 million, in those 34 federations? I suspect there is a way today that this funding has reached those 23, those 34 national sport federations. But then the question becomes, is this way an objective one? Is this way a fair way to distribute this available funding to those national sport federations? Well, this might be a solution, and this is the core message of today's talk from my end, the so-called multi-criteria decision analysis, where we consider different things and somehow we normalize them, and we try to offer a little bit more objective way of allocating the amount of funds available to those federations. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about this method. So it is used when we aspire, we strive, we try to incorporate different criteria, multiple criteria into an evaluation or decision-making process. In our case, how to allocate an X amount of money to an X amount of entities, right? The X amount of money is the annual funding that is planned for and it is devoted to the national sport federations, and the decision-making process to those entities, of course, concern the very same national sport federations. So these criteria reflect absolutely different perspectives. So the assessment is again striving to be as comprehensive as possible. And there are two keys to multi-criteria analysis. The first one is the normalization of performance on each criterion, and the second one is the weighting coefficients assigned to each criterion. Now, let me clarify something. This is too much of a technical to go into details. I just wanted to give you, the very, very basics, right? But if you want to ignore this slide, feel free to do so, right? I will give you an example, so hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say here. Now, this methodology, this exercise has two objectives. The first one is to provide a measurable and as objective as possible evaluation of the federations, which is directly linked to state funding. This is objective number one. The objective number two is to provide clear information to the very same federations on where they should place more emphasis and how they should direct their resources. Broadly speaking, resources. Part of those resources is the state funding. So this dual objective has an ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to enable these federations, always in collaboration with the highest authority of sport in the country, in your case, the BPS, to accelerate the improvement of sports services offered to society. Put it differently, it is anticipated that this reform effort in some countries, I will draw on in a while, has been a reform effort towards this direction, drawing on this methodology, right? It's grounded in transparency, it's grounded in objectivity, and hopefully will yield positive benefits for the country's broader sports ecosystem. Just a reminder, that's why we are gathered today, right? To talk about the Pakistani sport ecosystem as a whole and how the different parts within this ecosystem can be improved, again, broadly speaking. So, how do other countries do? How, in other words, the question is, how do other countries distribute the state funding to the national sport federations? Well, there are different methodologies. I benchmarked about 3-4 years ago when I was assigned the responsibility to do this exercise for the Republic of Cyprus. I benchmarked about 20 plus countries from all over the world. And there are different methodologies, some of them employing more objective ways to assign this state funding, some others less objective ones. One of those countries who was not using the objective way of assigning the state funding was Cyprus. So I was asked, okay, we need to figure out how we do that because it is becoming super political. It is becoming super somehow unfair from some federations and so on and so on. So we sat down. There was a call for tendering. I put my offer together, and I had the privilege and the honor to be assigned this responsibility and develop this. Inspired by a similar model that Greece had introduced a few years before I assigned the responsibility for Cyprus. So we had a real good, if you like, roadmap for us to draw on, get experience. So we didn't have to reinvent the wheel, but again, we had to contextualize matters because Cyprus is a much smaller country than Greece is, and the contextualization is always needed. So this is what we ended up with. We ended up with 4 criteria, 20 sub-criteria, and about 58 indicators. I will not go into detail talking about the indicators themselves, but I will show you what these criteria and what the sub-criteria have been, and then we can have a discussion about it. Now, the 4 criteria for this multi-criteria analysis, first of all, it was the governance of the federation itself. That is the administrative and the financial governance and the determining factors thereof. It was assigned a 25%, 25% of the state funding was going based on the score that these federations were having on governance. The other 20% was related to the achievements and the distinctions of the federations themselves. The other 20% was related to the values and the determining factors related to the activities
what do they do in these federations? And finally, they, if you like, the highest percentage of this state funding allocation was given to the SAC of the federation, 35%. And, it was concerned the values that represent us on the size of the federation. Now, allow me to very quickly explain this four criteria by drawing on the sub criteria. Now, just a reminder, obviously this 35, 20 plus 20 plus 25 is 100%. Okay? Now, when it comes to the size of the federation, some of the sub-criteria concern the number of sports and number of disciplines. How big you are, how many sports do you sell? Right? Almost 20%. How many sports clubs do you have? Do you have 20? Do you have 35? Do you have 200? Do you have in that area alone? And there are no sport clubs spread across the country. Remember, Cyprus is pretty tiny, where Pakistan is a huge country, right? So try to see the picture of what I'm trying to share with you today. How many athletes? As you can see, 60% of this 35% were assigned to the number of athletes. But again, if we had time to go through the indicators, there are athletes that have been registered to, let's say, the sport clubs, but they are not active athletes. So there is within the 60%, there is a percentage for the active athletes, there is a percentage for the registered athletes, and so on and so on. Now, a 5% goes to the number of coaches that serve this particular sport, and another 5% goes to the referees, to the judges, the other key stakeholders in order for this sport to be able to be practiced, right, by people of the country. So if you add 20, 10, 65, and 5, that will add up to 100%, and this 100% corresponds to the 35% of the overall plan. Now, when it comes to successes, we had basically three main sub criteria. 50% will go into the main competitions that these clubs, all those federations were taking part of. So what are the main competitions for Pakistan, for example? In Cyprus, we have even the Commonwealth Games, we have the Mediterranean Games, but we also have some less important, if you like, secondary, as we call it, other competitions, right? So we have the main competition, we have the secondary and other competitions. Now, these were categories that were defined by the highest authority of sport, not by me as a consultant, okay? And the final category, 30% was going on the participation in the Olympic and Paralympic Games. That's your sport. That is, your federation have athletes that represent the country in the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Yes, okay, how many, which sports, and all these indicators, but we're adding to this 30% where they for the federations to consider. So 20% of the state funding was going based on these three sub-criteria. Main competitions, secondary and other competitions, and participation in the Olympic Games. Now, a little bit more rich, if you like, criterion related to the activities of the federation. And we were looking at the national competitions. What do your athletes, your clubs doing nationally? How many competitions they take part? Which ones? What are the weight? And so on and so on. National teams. How many national teams do you have per sport? How many athletes within those national teams, and so on and so on, 20%. Youth development, how many age groups do you have? There are sports that they don't have to use. They start from bigger ages, and if you support your base, if you start from rich lineages, we want to support that. So we give you 25% out of the 20% if you put emphasis on support of the youth. So this youth goes all the way up. They become national representatives of the sport itself, and they represent the country to the mini games, to the main competitions, to the secondary competitions, and so on and so on. What I'm trying to say is that this fourth idea are connections among us, right? Another some idea was leading for or hosting competitions. It comes down to the activities. I mean, are you trying to mean something here? Let's say you are, I don't know, handball federation, and you want to develop the handball. Are you trying to, I don't know, bring the middle, I don't know what sort of competitions in Asia, in a particular area, region, can a country like Pakistan get bid for example, of course. So are you trying to bring competitions within the country, and we will reward you not only for hosting them, but even for bidding to bring these competitions in the country. Always within the activities, education, and training. As a federation, what do you do? Do you provide any training for the athletes, for the coaches, for the referees? Then education, we under this criteria we have dual careers, we have post career trainings, and so on and so on. Do you have a memorandum of collaborations, for example, with universities? Are you liaising with universities, with researchers, with scholars, where through research you're trying to understand better the sport that you serve, so you can add value to everything that we do? And if you do so, we will reward you. That is, we will give you money to do these things, right? I'm talking 5%. Obviously, this is a negative percent. The more you have, the less money you get. But the less you have, doping cases, the more money that you get. A little bit tricky sub criteria on this one with the indicators, the related indicators, and 7.5% of the activity was going to the national or international representation. In other words, do members of the boards sitting on national and international boards of the federation, members, elected members or appointed members of that federation, are they sitting, for instance, in the, I don't know, the Pakistan Olympic Committee, or in the International Handball Federation? Do you have any that is there? If you do so, that means that we give you more money out of this standard state funding. And final criterion concerns the governance of the federation. And we had three, if I remember well, sub criteria here. 30% on the administrative governance, for example, without going into details, and even the time constraints. Do you have term limits for the board members? Do you have a strategy in place? Know these things. Equality and safeguarding policies in back in Europe. The last few years, this is becoming a huge thing, and the highest of sport, when we were finalizing this criteria analysis, they asked me to make sure that we include a specific sub criteria, under the governance criterion, including the equality and safeguarding policies. So we assigned 10% out of this, the 25% for this particular matter. And finally, transparency as well. How transparent as a federation you are. You publish, let's say, or I don't know, some decision making processes, the profiles of the board members. If you go out of curiosity, if you go into the official websites of several national sport federations in Pakistan, you might come across with no information about those people who actually serve the federation itself. And that is quite strange because there are 10, 12, 15, depending on the size of the federation, that are responsible for steering this sport, right? So it would be nice if if we know who is behind this steering process. So, but this is just one of the indicators. Transparency will go just beyond that, right? And finally, everything about the financial governance, 40%. That was very, very important. I mean, how do you spend all this money? How receipts and tendering and all these different financial issues. Have the highest, if you like, percentage. We want to make sure that the federations have a sound financial, if you like, approach in doing business. So all these 40, 20, 10, and 30%, this 100% is corresponds to the 25% of this scheme. Now, I know that it is great to you, but these are about 40, 41 federations, and the blue concerns the size. The orange is about the activities, the gray is the successes, and the